Hey, welcome to another episode of Behind the Bar podcast, brought to you by the coaches and clients of RT Fitness Durham, Sunderland, and of course the Barbell Club, where we take you from complete beginner to photo shoot ready. If you need any details on our program, there is a link below that's going to take you to our 90-day transformation. Click that, answer a few questions, go through it, and it'll go to a call booking system, and you can book in a call with Sarah, and she'll sort you right out. So in today's episode, we have client Jonny Parrish. Jonny's been a client on and off for 7 years now, and the last couple of years he's really stuck it in. The transformation photos went out this week, I think, and I mean the guy is absolutely ripped. He is like probably one of our best transformations. I mean, he is a bit of a freak of nature when it comes down to his strength, because he's quite and I wouldn't say he's smaller than a lot of the people we've had, but I mean, the muscles on him is just unreal. I mean, we missed loads on the podcast when I'm really thinking back, and that he has won our in-house strongman for the last 2 times. But on this episode, we talk about his entire journey with us, all the niggles, what he had to start with. I mean, they weren't really niggles, they were quite bad injuries. So we talk on that, and obviously how we've helped him through that, and to get his strength to where it is now with his help of Coach Luke. And now that he's done his 12-week shred, and I mean the pictures will be out there, he gives all of his journey on that, the ups, the downs, and he is a dad of 2 young kids as well, and having to fit that around this crazy little journey of his. But we absolutely love coaching him here and can't wait to see what's next for him. But yeah, really good, in-depth, everything there is to know about all of his nutrition through it, all of the activities he's had to go through it, and most of all, he just listens and implements. So give this one a watch, listen, and enjoy. And if you can, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, the iTunes channel, all of them. Share these out so we can keep putting them out there, so that we can keep inspiring the everyday person that it can be done. So enjoy. I've got my double booted here.
Not many questions, eh? Not many questions, eh?
I think some of them would be like yes, no's, but probably not. Right, so who is Jonny Parrish?
That's really hard to answer, isn't it? It's like you only ever say that in an interview.
Yeah.
So I'm just turned 40-year-old. Married, got 2 young kids, so fairly young family. Obviously like to train, try and keep into shape. Work in advertising, and when I can play rugby and badminton. Rugby not so much lately, been out over a year now. Bits of injuries and that, hope to get back to it soon. That's basically it, right?
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
That'll do. Because I always like people to know, like, family, young family.
Yeah.
Yeah, young family, and obviously getting in the gym. How do you manage to be able to fit your 4 sessions in a week?
It was difficult, I'm not going to lie. It's something I realised.
Travel as well.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest bits for me, because it does make what should be a 1-hour commitment. It's over 2 hours for me, so it's just over. Sad that I know it, but just over 16 miles each way.
Right,
so
yeah.
It is half an hour each time, so it's over 2 hours every session really, when I've got to come in. And obviously you've got the fuel costs and everything, but it's something I decided I needed to do. So there's been large periods of time where I haven't been doing this, and I do end up quite unhappy because of it. I feel like I need that structure, and I need not the challenge, but almost I need that physical activity to keep me happy and to keep challenging myself. I guess it is a challenge, challenging myself all the time, always trying to push on. So I decided I needed to find that, and I did struggle a lot when the kids came along. There are commitments, certainly early on. It was just unmanageable early on, because you've got no time schedule whatsoever. Yeah. As you get a little bit older, you start to get a bit of a schedule in place with going to bed and waking up. So it was just a matter of finding the time for myself, and I realised very early on I wasn't going to have that time, because it is fully committed between the kids and work. Your time's gone. So the only way I could do it was to carve an extra 2 hours out of the day, and which is why I do the early morning session. So the kids' routine kind of starts at 7. So if I get up at 5, come here for 6, I'm home by about 7:25. So I get home, Vic's just got the kids up, they're having the milk. I can get home for then. I do the hours routine with them, get them to school, then it's work till about 5:30. Then it's a tea time routine, bath, bed, then we have showers, and then it's probably about 9 o'clock we sit down and just go, and then we have like an hour to ourselves.
Yeah.
And then I've got to be in bed by 10 because I'm up at 5 the next morning.
Yeah.
Which sounds brutal, but it's not. I mean, everyone who's got kids have had to do this.
Yeah.
But everyone will also say, well, I don't have time for the gym, you hear it all the time. But if you want to make time for it, get up earlier. It is a bit shit. I get less than 6 hours keep a night. But again, anyone watching this is probably thinking, well, that's me too. You know, lots of people don't get a huge amount of sleep. As long as you can manage that, then give up a bit of sleep and you can find a few more hours in the day, you know.
100%. I mean, if I could train at that time, I would.
Yeah.
As soon as one of you has gone and Paige is in, I'm in there somewhere.
Straight on.
I'll be in with one of you at some point. But I think that's it. I mean, I was talking to Jamie from my group, and he can't literally fit any extra steps, anything else after this.
Yeah.
And so I only messaged him yesterday saying, look, Dan's in here from 5:30. Get in, jump on the bike for half an hour.
He was this morning.
Yeah, and he was this morning. There, you seen him this morning. He was waiting outside for Dan.
Yeah, he beat me in.
But that's the thing, you've had to carve out that day, and I think it's probably the only time of day for most people.
I think it is, because the rest of your day's took, because they are the normal time, so you fill them with work, you fill them with commitments, basically. So if you create new time, you can do with that time what you wish.
Yeah.
And that's how I found it, really.
And do you have any kids' classes on the night now?
Don't have classes, that's going to happen, so there will be more commitments coming, I know, but nothing should happen that early on. So the only thing that affects the gym is the late nights, but again, with kids, you can't manage that, you've just got to put up with it. So the last two have been horrendous, but as long as you set your alarm, get into that routine, you might come in absolutely hanging, but you come in anyway.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing with the morning sessions. I've heard you mention it in other ones of these, where you set your alarm, you're out of bed, before I know what I'm doing, I'm driving to the gym. So by the time I start thinking, oh, can I really be arsed with this? Too late, I'm here.
Yeah, you didn't even know.
You tend not to. It's weird because you'd think the 6 o'clock would be the main one that you'd miss, but it's not. I think it's the other way because it's such a part of routine, getting up and doing what you planned to do the night before.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit more regimented. Whereas when I first started out with you, it was an afternoon one.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to spend the day talking yourself out of it. Normally work commitments, it's dead easy to say, I've got to do that work, I'm going to miss that session. And there's any amount of other things that can come up over the course of the day to talk yourself out of that late one. In the morning, you get none of that. You're up, you're out before anything can happen.
Yeah, and where you see it, you see how busy it is in the morning.
It's shocking, absolutely buzzing.
I mean, this morning, absolutely.
It was rammed on.
It was rammed.
It was a buzz and a half.
It was, but that's the thing. But then, like, say you come to the night, yes, people will be here. I know I always say it, but I always find out that the afternoon people can't talk themselves out of it.
Yeah, and I used to. I mean, I was pretty good for most of it, but it's a very easy thing to do. Because, it's almost like you're trying to find reasons sometimes. Because like I say, you wake up feeling like shit because you've had a bad night. You don't have time to consider that. You're already on your way.
Yeah.
If you feel like shit through the whole course of the day, you've got 8 hours of finding a reason to say, well, I'm just not going to the gym.
But there's still the adults who say they slept in.
Yes, there is. I'm sure it happens.
It fucking doesn't. Right, so when did you first start and why?
Start here.
Yes.
So I came to you, I worked this out before I came, 2016, which is easy to remember because it's my wedding year.
Yes.
So I kind of got to remember that year. So yeah, I'd been playing rugby since uni. So by that point, it'd been a canny while.
That's about 60 years ago,
yeah. It feels like it. And if you play, well, to be honest, any contact sport long enough, eventually you'll get some sort of injury. And that's when I got mine a couple of years before I came here. So I did my knee in. And it was just a bit of a nasty one. It was more complicated than it was big in that I just had 2 long stints of 6 months of rehab where I was laid up. So the way it went, it kind of locked out. So I had to have an emergency surgery to unlock it. And then he said, the surgeon, he was a good surgeon, but he said, to get this right, I want you at full strength when you go into the proper operation. So after the emergency operation to get the cartilage sorted, he then said 6 months of rehab before I'm going to operate properly. Right. And then at the other end of that, it's going to be another 6 to 12 months of rehab. So it ended up being like 12 to 18 months of recovery for something that I didn't think would take that long. And I wasn't my best friend in that I did just let it drop off. I didn't counteract it and think I'm laid up, I need to do something. It was literally just, fuck it. And when you do that with the physical side, as you know, the food goes off. Yeah. So by the time I got to January 2016, I was probably in about the worst shape I've ever been in, which... Right. Yeah, just didn't feel or look good. And I was going into my wedding year, so in August I was getting married in Montenegro, a hot country with all my family and friends, and I did not want to be going out there in a place where I'm going to have to put a pair of trunks on in front of everyone I know and love in the shape I was in.
Yeah.
But I still had the injury. So, I mean, I was off crutches and everything. I was capable. I couldn't do a huge amount. And then there was still no sport, no running. Biking was about all I could do. And that's when I came to see you. And you said you could work around it.
Yeah.
That's what brought me to you, and that's what kicked everything off.
Did you do weights prior to this then?
Not properly. So I've, like a lot of people, tried things myself.
Right.
Self-taught, so none of it would have been proper. There was no proper structure to it. The odd thing you find on the internet, you follow it for a few weeks and then it dies out.
Right.
I've always found following any sort of program like what you do here, because I have been back and forth a couple of times since I started. So you try and replicate it, but normal gyms, just the environment and the setup of them doesn't lend itself to it.
Right.
So I'll go in there thinking, right, well, what did I do here? I say, right, well, I did a bench supersetting in flies on the dumbbells. So you walk in there, someone's on the only bench there. It's like, right, well, now I've got to start on a different exercise, which I know isn't the best way around. And if you want to do a superset, you've got to keep 2 bits of kit free at a time. And if you've got a busy gym, you just can't do it because everyone hates that guy.
Yes.
And pretty quick.
How many sets you got left?
Yeah, exactly. Many as I want, dickhead.
Yeah.
So pretty soon I just didn't like going, and if you don't like going, you don't keep doing it. And then I just came off it. So I have done things in the past. I've dabbled with weights, but I've never done it properly or sustained it for any long period of time.
Yeah. So did you come here to get in shape for the wedding? Or
yes.
Because I think it was memory's right. I'm sure you had 12 weeks till your wedding. I'm sure we did like 4 weeks of a higher calorie and then 8 weeks.
We had longer. I came in January.
Was it? Right,
Came in January, got married in August.
Uh-huh.
So I think I did spend 2 months just finding my ways, because that's the thing when you come with it fresh.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to push you hard. I don't want to push you hard because I don't
Yeah.
want to make a dickhead of myself, and I don't know what I'm capable of. You guys don't know what I'm capable of, and you want to make sure you don't hurt me.
Yeah.
So it probably took 2 or 3 months before I was lifting what I could lift.
Yes.
Before which is great, because then you see the DOMs out in a more sensible way, and you don't break yourself before you get into it. But it took like 3 months before I was really starting to push and change myself, I suppose.
Right.
And then the 12 weeks, we did hone in over the 12 weeks where we put a plan in place and got myself a bit bigger, and then started, I think I cut in for the last 8 weeks. Nothing like shred standard, but
No.
cut in.
You still had abs though.
Still had abs by the way.
Good abs as well.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, because when you came to us, when Sarah, I think it was the application form, or because Sarah in our staff group will always post like who's coming in, what's their injuries, all the rest of it. It sounded like you had 2 fucking wooden legs.
I know. It wasn't that bad, was it?
It wasn't as bad as what it sounded.
No, and that's because I didn't know that. I was genuinely nervous because, like I said, I'd only dabbled in weights on my own, so I don't really know what's involved with them. And the knee was so bad for so long. I knew it was coming back to me, but then I thought, I have no idea what that knee can take. I didn't know if I could go in and lift max weights, or if with a warm-up weight it'd crumble. I had no idea what I'd be able to do with it. It turns out quite a lot, it was fine. But I didn't know that, so I was quite anxious coming in with it.
I thought, what did you, and this is off actually, so was it that period, was it that first block of time when we actually tested some 1 rep maxes?
Oh, we did 1 rep maxes, yeah, closer towards the wedding.
Let us remember, hold on.
I wish I did.
It was a 232 deadlift, or was it a 222? Because you beat mine by fucking 2.5, something like that. So I think it might have been a 232. Was it a 180 squat and a 115 bench?
I don't think I've ever got past the 115 on bench. That's the
right,
weakness.
okay.
Everything else I've moved on. The bench I'm still stuck on.
but I mean, those are crazy numbers. And now the video's out there on YouTube from many years ago. But those are crazy numbers for us as coaches, thinking, fucking hell, what have we got here?
But I didn't know.
Us talking amongst ourselves, like, oh God, because I remember you specifically said it wasn't any like rotational stuff on the knee as well.
Yeah.
It had to be all quite
it was
static.
a twisting and all that.
The twisting,
planted was absolutely fine, it turns out. So this lent itself perfectly to me. The dynamic stuff knackered for.
Yeah, I suppose that's because of where we do just fixed weightlifting rather than like CrossFit, where you're jumping all over the place or anything like that. It's going to lend its hand to most.
Well, I've got a mate at work who does a CrossFit. He's properly in shape, and
Yeah.
he's a very similar age to me, so we talk quite a lot about the different things we do. And I could never do what he does because of exactly that. He's like, I'd get injured every week. Literally, I know I would.
You would, yeah.
So I mean, I can lift really good weights here, but if I try to do anything that he does, I just know I couldn't do it because of all the twisting, all the mobility. They're all snatches and that. What we do, it's put your feet there, get your weight, get yourself set, get your balance, and then do your lifts.
Yeah.
So everything's really structured and safe almost.
Yeah.
So even though you're lifting big weights, and don't get me wrong, you creak and crack under the weight of the things, it's always planted. You don't feel unstable or at risk at any point. So
it's not
that
like
led itself.
full Olympic lift above the head
Exactly.
into a squat.
And because of the rugby and that, I do have, everyone does I know, but I do have lots of little niggles as we've had to manage as we've gone through. But I think doing this form of exercise minimises that. Whereas like I said, CrossFit, I think I'd be out more than I'd be in, which is what's happening with rugby nowadays. I'll do quarter of a season with full intention of seeing the whole thing out, and then something will happen, and that's it. I just can't go back to it for months. The rest of the season's written off, and that's what's happened. Most recently, I've not played since a year gone November, I don't think, because the back thing happened.
Yes.
And that's still not really sorted, so it's just, this is something that I can seem to sustain long term.
Ever since you've started, you kept saying, I'm going to get back into rugby. And every time you fucking come back to rugby, it
I
really
get it
knacks
again.
you.
I know.
Jesus, man. Is that not telling you something?
You think that, but honestly, God, there'll be, like, there's a good amount of lads on our team, lads that older than me, you know. That's you can't play that card, because I'm sure one of the guys, he'll probably tell us off for remembering wrong, but I'm sure he just turned 60. And he puts in half a game every week, week in, week out.
Yeah.
You can't go bitching when you've got 60-year-olds doing it.
But they haven't had knee.
They probably have, honestly.
They probably have, okay.
And that's the annoying thing. My knee thing, for all it was catastrophic for me, it took 18 months to come back. It was detached ACL, and then I dislocated it after that. It's all complicated. Some people have these heroic snapped legs where you can hear it on the other side of the pitch and stuff. Horrendous. When I come in, here with my knee, and I didn't ligament. Fuck off, get back to rugby, you tart. So when I go in there with my bulging discs, shut up, you get in.
Oh, God.
I just kind of, there's no real excuse, and there's always someone who's had something worse than you have. So yeah, it doesn't work that way.
He's a nuts, absolutely nuts. If I couldn't do something, I'd just come back to bicep curls. We've answered that one, champion. So lockdown training, you did some barbell in the lockdown training, if you remember.
Yeah, that's
How was that?
It's kind of when I came back to you for the latest stint, really, what kicked it all off, I think.
Must have just been before April 21, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good while ago.
Because did you do like 4 weeks of the barbell before you actually came back to the barbell?
Yeah, I pretty much came back just before we locked down, then had to go doing it in my freezing cold garage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just getting back in the swing of things, just
That'd
in the
been 2
dorms.
years ago, fucking hell.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
It was, right?
Probably more, actually.
No, because it was because we came back in the April 21.
Right.
Yeah, because it wasn't the first lockdown.
No,
it was the second one, and it was April the 12th, 21, and I think you must have come in just a few weeks before we kicked back into the group. So
it was after the lockdown, because I didn't get allocated any weights because I wasn't here for that to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was weird. Because the whole COVID thing seems like a blur. It's hard to place times and things, isn't it? But yeah, it was different. It was interesting because you had to get fairly creative, and it was hard to stay. Like say again, structure. So here you get up, you get in the car, you come through. Just getting up and going into your garage was a bit weird. I had to do it in the garage because I had the kids in the house, and couldn't be bouncing around and doing what I had to do in the living room because it would have woken everyone up. So luckily, I've got the garage that worked perfectly for me. It was just bloody Baltic. But yeah, it was great because it was still guided sessions. So it wasn't the recorded ones, it was a live person, so you were there in front of us.
Fucking how to do every bloody one of them.
I remember it. It was interesting, but there was plenty. The thing is, there was feedback. It was like, because it was all on Zoom, it was all live, we were all still interacting, we were all still talking to each other. So it worked fine, to be honest. And we got, it was quite interesting because I just told you what I had in my garage and we made it work, you know.
I found it creative, to be fair.
So
like,
what do you got there? What can I see over there? Well, you can lift that. All right, I can do. I mean, honestly, the setup was brilliant. I had like a scaffolding base for me calf raises, and I was hanging onto my step ladders, and you had us doing glute bridges on something horrendous. I remember it knocked out a towel across us that I found in the corner,
right,
covered in oil, and I put a bar across me beam, so I had a pull-up bar, and Yeah.
You had better equipment than us.
I did all right, yeah, because everyone else was in the living room or something, so
Yeah.
they were having to do things on couches. I could almost always drag something out. It was a lot
Yeah.
more suitable, so yeah, it worked great for us.
You had some good weights as well.
I did.
So mission to bulk, and then the shred, calories, etc. Time frame for what we give to bulk type thing. What was your calories like? How were they up until say when we started the shred?
It was probably the first and only time I failed in this gym was trying to bulk.
Right.
So everything else I've tried to do here, I feel like I've given it a good shot and got good results from it. The bulk, I just couldn't make it work. I don't think I had enough time on it. I didn't give myself enough time. I think I did less than 3 months doing it.
What was that? It?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So by the time I'd figured it out, it was too late. But I think it was a good thing because by the end of it, it had just gone in the wrong direction. As you always say, you start clean, you end up dirty, and that's exactly what I did. So
Right.
at first, it was just eating more of the same things. I wasn't getting enough calories in, and I couldn't eat anymore.
Yeah.
And the weight wasn't going up. So you just start supplementing. So when you get to the end of the day and you've got calories to use, you eat the wrong stuff. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
And it starts so.
It's not really the wrong stuff. It's just having to just force it in, isn't it?
It's exactly that, and because you can only force so many what you call whole or good foods in your chicken breast, your rice, your veg. You can only get so much of that in, so you do start resorting to, well, let's have that biscuit because then that's 120 calories and I can eat that because it's nice and easy.
Yeah.
And then you start with just one, and then it's like, well, if I just have these bits here that I know I shouldn't be having, I can get my calories in a bit more. And then you get on the scales and I still haven't put the weight on, so it's like, well, that didn't do me any harm, so I'll do more of that. And then by the end of it, you're just eating shit. And
Right.
the weight still didn't really go up, but my body composition started suffering for it, and I was carrying the wrong kind of weight going into Christmas.
Right.
By that point, I kind of imploded a bit. So in the run up to Christmas, when you've got more temptations and opportunities to eat wrong anyway, I was already one eye on the shred. And I thought, well, the higher I go in on the shred, the more dramatic the drop will be. And I know I'm going to lose it because I've got it all planned in, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I kind of went way off on the wrong direction on it. So I finished up on 4,000 calories, which was really hard to maintain for me. It's time as well. Again, don't have a lot of time, and to eat that quantity of food, it takes time. You've got to factor in your eating plan, and you've also got to prep all of it, and you've got to shop for it. It does take time to do all of that. But by the time I got to Christmas, I was doing it all wrong. And then over Christmas, I just took the brakes right off because I just thought, well, why bother? In 2 weeks' time, I'm going to shred down. And if I'm a couple pounds heavier from these 2 weeks, then I'll just lose that 2 pounds after.
Yeah.
So completely the wrong way to do it. So yeah, the book didn't work for me. If I did it again, I'd have to reset and just try and do it completely differently, I think. Probably give it a bit more time.
So do you find, like, does it make you feel groggy then, like, trying to force that amount in? Because most people out there, when you're saying 4,000 calories, a lot of people think that's the fucking dream.
Yeah, I know. And it could be, because anyone could eat and drink 4,000 calories in a really enjoyable way. You could have your full English, you can go to McDonald's, you can have beers, you can do whatever you want, but obviously you're not going to achieve what you want doing that. To do it in the right way is really difficult.
Right.
I didn't feel groggy off it. I mean, it's weird eating when you're not hungry, because it's not an enjoyable experience. You eat when you're hungry and you therefore enjoy eating. When you're eating when you're not hungry, it's not something you enjoy, so why do it almost? So I was pushing myself to do something that wasn't really getting me any better results in the end. And to be honest, even when I was shredding down, my strength was around the same as when I was bulking anyway. That's how I know I did it wrong, because I was hitting PBs in shred that I didn't hit when I was on the bulk. Now, whether that's just because of what program we were on or what, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I know I would have had more energy, and when I did my sessions, I didn't feel dizzy and stuff, like I did on a shred. But yeah, I didn't really see a huge benefit for it. So I was eating loads more calories. My weight wasn't going up. I wasn't really putting a lot of lean mass on. My strength was negligible. So why do it almost? So that's how I know I did it wrong, because I know if I did it right, I would see results.
Right.
So if I did it again, I'd probably take a bit more guidance, give it a bit more time.
But your energy levels, did you feel
energy levels
different?
Well, I didn't, because you take them for granted, I think. So you don't notice something's not there till it's gone. So in the shred, massively noticed the energy levels. That really hurt me. Energy levels, and I felt like I was floating for about 12 weeks. You're ready to get lightheaded all the time. I never had any of that. So because I wasn't suffering from it, didn't really notice it.
Right.
I didn't feel like I had loads of energy.
Yeah.
But because I wasn't missing any, I didn't feel anything really. It was just take it for
It's
granted.
when you're paying poorly in it, like you
Yeah.
don't know,
You don't
know you feel good until you
you don't
feel
miss
bad.
it till it's gone. Yeah, exactly that.
Mad. So what weight did you go up to in bulking
I
phase?
think I gained about 4 or 5 pounds, so I got up to 183, which is what I'm saying I think it was about 180-ish when I went into Christmas. I came out of
Right.
Christmas 183.
Fucking hell.
So probably about the 180. So I only put about 4 or 5 pounds on in 3 months bulking. And I was genuinely trying to eat 4,000 calories.
Well, you were, and I mean, I did see, like, it was dropping a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to do it. I was trying to egg you on.
Yeah.
I failed mine as well, just because my training volume wasn't matching, and it was like, I am just going to get fat here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I dropped off mine, and it was like, I'll just maintain because my training was all over the place.
Yeah. Basically for December, I just got fat.
Yeah. Fair dues. So 180 what?
183.
183
That's
from
what I
there.
came to shred on,
And then what was your calories like on your shred? What did you drop to?
I immediately went down to 22
Right.
for the first month, and that was too hard. And I think a bit less down me because I still ninja tracked, because that was the only way I could get through it if I still had a bit of a weekend to look forward to.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm telling everyone I was on 2,200. In reality, I was probably in about 1,900 to 2,000 a day, which was just too little for me, so that I could have my weekends. So we went up to
So
2,400.
nearly half your calories.
Yeah, pretty much. And the weight was coming off quicker than it needed to. So we upped me to 2,400. I'll probably go in at the end, because I got my figures all sorted out, so I know I actually averaged over the course of the 12 weeks, I did average 2,200, but I was aiming for 24, but because I ninja tracked and then had a bit of a weekend, it actually balanced out to 2,200 in the end, but I was aiming for 24 as I went.
So we'll talk about that now, actually, because it was a super interesting thing you sent us. So so it was 2,200 across the board, did you say?
Just over, yeah.
Just over 22, yeah.
So at the end of the shred, because I'm an Excel geek, so I put all my numbers in there, what was going in, what was going out, and I just averaged it all up for the 12 weeks. So it's the only real way to do it. I know it was you start a lot harder and finish a little bit weaker. But basically, I tracked through the whole thing, and the main thing it highlighted was the inaccuracies of the tracking. Through nobody's fault, it's just the way the tracking works.
Or the inaccuracies of calories burned.
Yes, that was more the calories burnt, and I know that for a fact almost. So my calories burnt, I can't remember the figure, but basically I used MyFitnessPal to track my calories, and I know that was as close as you could get. I've done that for 7 years, so I'm pretty good at it now. I think, like you, I could look at a plate of food and give you a fairly accurate macro breakdown just by looking at it, and I know if something's off when I'm putting it into my tracker. And when I started the shred, I made a point of almost resetting, so I didn't take any of the history forward whatsoever. I started afresh day one of the shred. So I scanned every barcode I could, and what didn't scan, I found a very accurate one that I could find on there, you know.
From similar past stuff what you've tracked before.
Yeah, I had a good idea what it should be, so I could pick a fairly accurate one off that, or if Tesco's didn't have it, I could find the Sainsbury's alternative just by searching. So I know that tracker was pretty close, and I tracked everything, like everything, milk in my tea. The odds thing is sneak. I didn't sneak it, I snuck it at the time, but I still tracked it afterwards. I made sure every calorie went in there. So I think that was as accurate as tracking can get. And then on my Fitbit, I did make sure it was up to date, so I kept me weight consistently coming down on it. So I put the information in, everything that I could give it. And at the end of it all, the figures were that I was in a deficit of just over 1,600 calories every day. That was Fitbit versus MyFitnessPal, so in and out. In reality, I lost 2.08 pounds a week every week on average. So that means I was actually in a deficit of just over 1,000 calories. So it's almost exactly a third out. And I put in that information as closely as it could possibly be. But at the end of the day, it's just a few £100 on your wrist. It's never going to give you that accurate an output.
And even how good you are at tracking, and it will be as close as you can get, that's still going to be out.
Yeah, of course it is.
It is, and I don't, this is what people will never, like, even though we tell people to track all the rest of it, track and look at this. I mean, not so much on the calorie burn. I mean, we use generally these to make sure the steps, steps. But people never understand it, and they'll always think calories in, calories out on these devices and go fucking like that's it.
It should be it.
Yeah, but most people's tracking, I know, is never going to be as good as yours.
Especially in the shred, because you hone down to the smallest detail. So when I get back from here, I was trying to fast through the morning to save calories up as much as I could, and I found it easier in the morning. You were starving, but it was easier not to eat because I had other distractions. The one tipping point was making the Bairns breakfast. So up at 5, an hour's session, get home, and at 7:30 I'm making butter on toast. So, oh God, what I could do with that. And the Bairns, my daughter doesn't like a crust, so I'd slice the crusts off, slivers, and that'd be my breakfast. I'd eat the crust. I weighed them. That was 14 grams of bread, 2 grams of butter, 48 calories, and I put that in. So you put everything in. So that really was as on point as I'll ever have me tracking, and I don't think I'd have been far out.
But that's it, say that 48 calories there, from a so quite a new person who's just new to tracking and all the rest of it, they would never track that. They would never track the milk or sugar in the coffees or teas or anything
and it
like
surprised you, because when I first tracked it, I thought, that's going to be a nothing. It was almost a quarter of a slice of bread. I thought, it's just a crust though. But when you put it on the scale, I did it 3 times. I was like, that can't be right. A slice of bread's 40 grams. I was just coming out 15. That shouldn't cost me that many calories. And it did. And you, like you say, milk and tea. I'm an absolute tea pig. I'll have 10 cups of tea in a day.
Right.
And I work out, I have 40 mils of milk in every cup of tea on average. So, because I started weighing it, it was working out like 150 calories a day just on my tea. Right. And when you're shredding...
That must be skimmed milk then, is it?
No, you know what? There's not much difference.
Oh, is it not? Right, okay.
Not a lot of difference. And carbs is actually better the other way around. I learned when we did our carb load week.
Right, okay.
But anyway, it was about 150 calories a day just in my tea. And that is a very easy thing to say, I don't need to track that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of calories that you're not thinking about, you know.
And say if somebody is on like a very quite restrictive diet, female, 1,500 calories.
10%.
That's 10% of their daily thing on a tea. Because in fact, one of the girls wasn't tracking her milk, who was on the shred, and she was having 10 cups of tea a day. Well, it does. If you think of that over a week, even if it's 150 calories, that's 1,050 calories a week.
Scary, isn't it?
Times it over a year.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Without knowing, do you know what I mean? And people don't understand these little bits what go into it. They're just scanning a code and say it's not coming up, or typing in something. And it's like the first thing what comes up, oh, fish and chips is only 300 calories. Champion, I'll have 2 portions. But I said to you when you sent us that over, like, that is super interesting how even you, because I'll call bullshit on a lot of people. I'll call bullshit on most people.
I've done that before.
It is, I'll call bullshit on most people, but it's like, I understand, like, I mean, Excel, that's when you know you're into it. Not when I say like 3 days missing and I've tracked everything. And it is super interesting because 30% out for someone like you is fucking mental.
But it's really important to know, because I'm in the process now of figuring out what I do for, I'm probably jumping ahead here, I do for the next 12 weeks or whatever. And I want to make sure I'm right for my holiday. So I now need them figures. And what you always say, it's really hard to figure out your maintenance. It's really hard to figure out how to get where you want to be. And because of the shred, that's one of the biggest outcomes I've had from it for a long term. I know exactly what my maintenance is, because I know I had 2,212 calories a day when I was doing that level of activity, and I know I burnt 2 pounds a week. So I know that plus 1,000 calories is now my maintenance, 3,212, so long as I keep the activity levels the same.
I was going to say, as long as the activity levels keep the same, but then your weight's going up as well.
And the weight's going up as well. But the activity levels, I didn't find that hard at all. In shred, that was the easy bit. The food was the hard bit. I was probably 80% of the way there on the activity levels anyway. So adding that extra little bit really wasn't that difficult. So I think I can maintain that going forward. It's more knowing the calories in to get that deficit. And now, for the first time in 7 years of being here, I know almost to the calorie what my maintenance is, which I've never known before. It's always a guess.
I've just had a thought there, because if obviously all that, the weight loss hasn't come in at the right equations of what we've done and all the rest of it, but have we put muscle on in those 12 weeks then? Because if you're saying you're hitting PBs in the shred, obviously your strength's going up. So generally, in line with strength, muscle mass has to come along, but it is generally hard in such a deficit.
I still think, I started April last year properly back here, I still think I hadn't found my maximum, so it could just be that I was just creeping up naturally anyway. But the shred hasn't slowed that down, that's what that means. So I don't know if it means I've increased my strength, or I've just been able to keep putting the weights up to find where that limit was. And it's just so happens I found that, I think it was about 3 weeks before the end of the shred on the squat. Because Luke kept putting shit up. But the strength, the weird thing is with the shred, I didn't feel like my strength ever went down. It was just energy levels. So it's weird that the power's there, but the strength to fuel that power wasn't there. I don't know, it's a weird way of saying it.
No, I get it. I mean, because when Luke talks about his cuts, he just ends up taking longer in the gym.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
That's it. He
Yeah.
says, like, obviously moving from one thing to another, still moving the same weights and all the rest of it, but he says his sessions just take longer.
Yeah, so the ability to shift the weights there,
Yeah.
it's just the fuel to do that's less, and you suffer more for it.
Well, probably just because your carbs are a lot lower than generally as well.
Yeah, yeah,
so it's like, where's my carb
Yeah,
drive?
where's my fuel coming
Yeah.
from? Yeah.
Mad. Yeah, brilliant. So, yeah, you've answered basically. How was the shred? So how's Luke then? Because obviously, what I've seen obviously with Luke as well, Luke's gained, like, you were already strong. You've always had that fucking crazy strength in you. And what I've seen from Luke is he's ramped you up further, to be fair.
He's like a ninja that way. He does it without really letting you know he's doing it.
Yeah.
So anyone else would egg you on to it. Let's try this. Let's try putting a bit more on.
Yeah.
He just does it. He's turned around and he's just put an extra 2.5 on there.
Right.
You're looking at this thing and he doesn't even say it. He just walks away.
Yeah.
Guess I'll go and do my set then.
Yeah.
But he's quiet. He seems like the most laid back guy in the world. But
Yeah.
he's always, he knows what he's doing. Fully, you know he does. And he's a couple of times he tested it. So I think it was the first strong event.
Right.
And I did the practice session when we were doing the log press for 1 rep max.
Right, okay.
And I don't think I'd ever done a log press in my life.
Yeah.
So I picked it up for the first set. And I think he was just monitoring that at the time. He was running that section. And he just said, I reckon you got 90 in you there.
Right.
And I finished up on 92. I didn't
Yeah?
know myself. I had no idea.
Fucking hell.
I was just warming up, I think, on the 55.
Yeah.
I was like, Christ, that feels heavy. Like, and he goes, you got 90 in you. And he literally got it to within 2K. And I think he's done that 2 or 3 times where he'll say, you've got this in you in the next few weeks. It's like we started a program off during the shred on the squat, and he says, you'll lift 200 on that before the end of this. And that's when I hit my PB.
Fucking
but
hell.
he knew starting on the program, he's like, you'll have 200 on this. I said, no, I don't think so. Like, but he knows better than I do. So
And 200 for your body weight, Jesus Christ.
it was creaking. But
Yeah.
the thing is, that's the point, though. You can trust him to do it. I know he's going to get the most out of me because before he even starts the program, he knows he's got a pretty good idea what I'm going to do and what I'm capable of. So he just has to get me there, you know.
Fucking hell. Yes, quite magic indeed.
It feels like.
So what I taught Dan about the other day I've only just mentioned it this morning because with about Luke, because like Dan like quite so the coaching styles are different and everybody else.
Yeah.
And I mean, Dan's totally jealous that Luke's got you and Jack, but hey, he wants yous. But so what I've said, because like where you said Luke's so laid back, he is. It's so like I was talking to Luke about yesterday. I was saying like I don't understand how you get through these sessions.
Honestly, at reps, we joke about him because Dan, he bellows out. You know when his guy sets are. Luke, honest to God, I've been talking to Jack. Are we meant to be in here? And you look at Luke, and he actually goes, "It's not. We're on the army, mate. Shout, tell me." He's literally.
Yeah.
Okay, set 2, I think, Jack.
Yeah.
He's that quiet.
But what Dan actually said was because I said, I don't know how he gets through a session. And Dan was saying, because Dan gets through 5 sets of everything, where you get through 4, and I get through 4.
Yeah.
And Dan was saying, like where he's got you and Jack, Jack's strength's fucking flew through the roof.
I don't know.
And obviously Dan wants you. But he says, like, it's probably more beneficial what Luke's actually doing because you're getting that bit of a bigger rest.
Right.
And I never ever thought about it. Me, like, because I'm still, you can hear me take the in. And like, I don't even know if he's ever moving. But you just get through it. But it's like, that probably his recovery time is helping you through there. Yeah. And it's not to say that, like, me or Dan, like, say if we do get through 5 sets, it's not to say me or Dan's right getting more in.
Yeah.
Because are we actually, like, and I don't know what's best. Because, Dan's got some strong motherfuckers as well.
Yeah.
He's coached Paige for these last few years. Do you know what I mean?
Pound for pound is stronger than anyone, you know?
She is. Yeah. So it's a mad little theory of it, but, like, clearly it's working.
Yeah, again, you don't, it's just Luke. He's so quiet and laid back, you don't think he's doing anything, but actually behind the scenes, I think he is. Yeah. So if you do question it or it does come up every now and then. What's the recipe for this? He'll just teach you a load of science or something he knows from
Yeah.
bodybuilding and that. And you're like, oh, right, yeah, well, you are doing that on purpose then.
Yeah.
So if he's doing it, it doesn't seem it, but it is considered, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Whenever people look from Carnage across, they always say, like, we're just standing about. But I have to fully explain, especially when new people are coming in. It's like I always have a bit of a fear of people coming in and not getting a good workout the first week.
Yeah.
But I have to keep explaining, look, at this, you'll enjoy this rest in a few weeks.
Yeah,
You'll want this minute rest.
I was going to say, DOM's hit after 3 days, so we'll know pretty quick that it's having an effect on you. You're not doing nothing.
And it's just always explaining, like, look, we're just going to find your weights first, and then we can add weights to it. Like, just relax this week, and now you can lift more, but regardless, you're going to hurt.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, 100%.
So on the shred then, I mean, you've obviously had mint results over the years, all the rest of it, but what weight did you start at on the shred and what weight did you finish at?
So it was 183 down to 158, which really pissed me off because that was £1 more than you.
Yes, you were, yeah.
Just that £1.
I don't know what I started at though.
It would have been similar. The thing is, whenever I go in, I look at you because we're very similar heights
Yeah.
strength, so I can follow you most places.
28. I don't know, I lost 28 total, so I was one.
I think I lost 25 total.
25.
So you started a couple more than me.
Oh yeah. Yay. But you look better. So that's it. And we've already figured that out, so yeah. But how did you feel with those results?
I was buzzing with them because I didn't really have a goal in mind. I just did it for the challenge of it.
Yeah.
And the shred is enough in its own right to be a challenge. I know a lot of people do it for a wedding or for a birthday or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. It was just to see if I could do it and what I could achieve on it.
Yeah.
And it has proved, I know you've mentioned before, it's not body dysmorphia, it's not that extreme, but you do see a completely different person in the mirror to what you see on the photos.
Yeah.
So even when I've had them photos, you just can't believe what you're seeing on them because you look in the mirror and I don't know if it's an angle that you're looking at or, like I say, just your perception, but I still don't feel like you're looking at in the mirror as what you do on the photos, the way they come out. Might just be Luke doing his trickery, I don't know.
He doesn't edit them or anything like
No,
that. It is just literally, obviously, a lot of oil. Softbox, a lot of oil. I'm trying to get yours tanned up a bit, which you could have done better at.
Sorry.
But it isn't, there's no trickery in it. I mean, obviously, camera angles are always going to be better.
It up.
Yeah, it brings it up better. But if you were to have fucking walked out onto a beach that day, you'd have been oogled at. Your lass will have been fucking, get some clothes on, will you?
Normally is anyway.
I sort of a perception, I'll tell you, like, there's a bit of a psychological thing with everybody. And I don't know if it happened to you, but do you think you would change anything about yourself looking at those photos? Do you think, like, because a lot of men will never be big enough. A lot of women will never be lean enough. If you're seeing, because that's like, I think the shred as well for a lot of people can be like a big reset, like a big body recomposition, and you can see where, say, you lack or where you've gained or anything like that. Did you see anything like that? This is just for me.
Yeah. I mean, personally, if I could change anything, I'd probably want to work on my chest. Like I said, I think I'm quite out of proportion in what I can lift on legs and back versus my chest. So either I'm weak on my chest or I'm strangely strong on my legs. I don't know which it is.
Right, okay.
So looking at the photos, I would probably say I could. Most people have a bigger chest than me, so that would be the only thing. Otherwise, I'd be quite happy if I look like that every time. Like
80-year-olds.
That's as good as I think I'll ever look, and I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, I wouldn't change a lot.
So do you see yourself just like, let's say a long stand point of view? Do you see yourself? Do you think like the static type weightlifting will be forever type thing?
I'd like to think so. Like I say, that the hardest part for me is the time commitment. So it's the 2 hours. It's not a 1 hour thing.
By the way, I'm not trying to hook you into a lifetime commitment to you.
I've looked, nothing against this place. I've looked for something more convenient. Just because if I could do this in an hour and a quarter, it would be a lot easier and there'd be less barriers.
In your life, of course,
Unfortunately, I just can't find anywhere similar.
I need to open somewhere down your way.
Really, I keep telling you, man. I'll help you, Christ. But I do. I'd like to think I will, and certainly I've got no plans to stop and it achieves what I want to achieve. Like I said, there's been times because over 7 years you're not going to stick at it. I don't think there's anyone who's been here full 7 years without stopping or breaking at any point. things get in the way, kids get in the way. And when I'm off it, eventually I always get to a point where I'm miserable because of it, because I get into a bad shape. But it's not just how I feel about myself, it's the lack of structure. I like to have, like I said right at the beginning, I like to have that level of activity and challenge, and it's a structure it brings with it. So even though it's a slog and it's hard work, it provides me with that. So it's almost, it's like work with everyone as well. There's times when it's hard to have, but if you didn't have it, because people who wish it away and think, I just wish I didn't have to work. But I think COVID probably taught us all that when you didn't have it and you lack that structure, people were a fucking mess because no one knew what to do with themselves. So you actually need that structure. Now, I'm not saying it's like work, I'm just mean it's a part of structure that I miss when I don't have it. So even though sometimes, like this morning when the kids give you 4 hours kip, you're knackered, you feel like shit, it's still, you still come in because you still want to do it. You might not necessarily want to do it that day, but without it, you'd miss it.
Probably, I always think having no structure, not boring, having no structure makes me more tired. Because I don't know what to do with myself.
Wednesdays are tiredest I am. So Wednesday, I'll quite often lie in till about 6:30 when I've got to kick the kids' routine in. My body clock always gets me up. But I'm never tired, and then when on a Wednesday I don't understand it, still don't understand it.
Fucking hell.
It's got to be something linked. Because weekends, I don't know what it is, but weekends I get up earlier than I do for my body clock kicks in.
Right.
And I think because on a weekend, that's your time to do your own thing. So I'm not getting up for work, I'm getting up to do my own stuff. Getting up to do my own chores, and it just starts going in my head.
Your structure of cleaning the house and blah, blah, blah,
It's
blah,
exactly
blah.
that. So as soon as I open my eyes, be it 4, 5, whatever it is, it's like, I'm going to get up because I've got stuff I want to do. So I get up ridiculously early on weekends. But on a Wednesday, which is a work day, I just don't have training. I'll sleep until about 6:30, and then that takes me so long to wake up. I'm grouchy. It's weird. I can't explain it.
Oh, I'm sorry I don't open Wednesdays. Last one then. So same question as most people. What would you say to someone wanting to live a leaner, healthier lifestyle?
Find the time for yourself. Like I say, it sounds preachy, but people will make the excuse that they just don't have time. I think that's the easiest one, open-ended one to make, where you can't just disprove them. But in reality, like I said, there's 24 hours in a day. Just give something up, even if it's your sleep. And then it might not be healthy advice, but you can you survive on what everyone will have a different hour. Just go to bed earlier. There's ways to fit it in, and then when you do, just don't go too big too soon, which is a bit rich coming off the shred, because I know that's an absolute extremity, but that was 12 weeks out of 7 years that I've been doing it. And that's kind of the point. 7 years I've been doing this. If I'd set very small goals 7 years ago, I'd be exactly where I want to be now, no matter what them goals were, because I would have had 7 years to achieve it. So it's kind of like consistency. There's really, really peculiar saying. I can't remember where I picked it up from. I won't be reading because I don't read. But I got it from somewhere years back about Vegas, and I can't remember how it goes. I'm going to fuck this up now. I think it's 99.9% of people will go to Vegas with a tenner trying to make 100 quid, and all of them will leave Vegas with nothing. So the smart 1%, 0.1% go to Vegas with 100 quid trying to make a tenner, and those people will leave Vegas with 110 quid. And it's the same sort of thing. When you get people through here saying, I want to lose 3 stone in 3 months, most won't achieve it, and they'll bugger off and come and pest you next January. Those that do achieve it, give them 2 years, they'll probably be back the other way again, because you can't sustain it, and they haven't put habits in. They've just blitzed it, had the adrenaline to do it, had the drive to do it, but then they've gone off the other way. But if you say that was a 2-year cycle, for instance, if that same person came in and said, I want to lose 2 pounds a month, how easy is that? That's 250 calorie deficit a week. That's a very small change to your lifestyle to get that. And in 2 years' time, you've lost, 48 pounds. So if you could take anyone 2 years after you first met them and said, if I can promise you'll be 48 pounds lighter in 2 years' time, wouldn't you wish you could have done that 2 years ago? And those people would achieve that, because you're not asking them to do a lot. But I know no one does that. But that'd be the one, and I'm the same, because people don't go over that threshold to lose £2 a month for 2 years. They come because they've got a goal in mind that summer, and they want to hit that. And the thing is, mentally, you're capable of doing it. In January, everyone comes in January, I can achieve anything, I've got the adrenaline. And that's why you get the January brigade, and they'll hit it hard. But the problem is, that's all motivation, and motivation runs out. And when you don't have your motivation, you need discipline, and you only get that from truly wanting something and having something that's achievable and manageable. So no matter how motivated you think you are, you will get to that second Tuesday in February when you've got no sleep, you feel like shit, it's snowing, you've still got to get in. That's where discipline takes over, because you cannot possibly be motivated all the time. It's dead easy to come in here skipping in when you're full of energy and you're happy and you feel like doing it. It's that second Tuesday in February where you've got to come in and you're still coming anyway. And they're people you see here week in, week out.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much, buddy.
Right. Thanks very much, mate. Cheers.